topic has to do with who should pay on the first date. A recent study that was featured in Psychology Today reveals that women believe men who pay for the first date are more likely to be attracted to them. So what do you guys think? Who should pay on the first date, and do you think that that's a sign of attraction when somebody, I guess either male or female, is willing to pay for the date?
Well, I guess the psychology behind it, like, yes, it is more attractive. Whoever pays, like, even if the woman pays, the men might find the woman slightly more attractive because they are taking initiative, you know, it's like they care, you know.
But if a woman pays for the meal or whatever it is that you're doing, wouldn't that sort of tell something about their personality? Like she's a dominant female that they could be different. It'd be different than a guy. It's just that's just the expectation. That's just normal. That's the role that they're supposed to play.
Well,
so what does that say about you?
I feel like that perception of like women being dominant because they're paying is kind of like, you know, outdated. Like men and women are seen as equals now. Yeah, so it shouldn't be an issue.
I think that it's
more of an ego issue.
Yeah, I think it's the perception, like you guys are saying, that women are not supposed to pay that makes them seem like they're dominant or something. But I think it's more of just whoever.
Personally, I just feel like whether it be the woman or the man that pays for the bill. I mean, if for the date, if there's gonna be a potential for a relationship, I mean, it wouldn't matter like who pays for the first date. But I just feel that if you are going to pay, or personally I feel if I'm gonna pay for the date, or if he's gonna pay for it, I'm just gonna feel like I'm indebted to him.
Right. That's the same as I feel.
So,
but the truth is, you're not indebted to them. You just feel that you are.
But that's if there's potential for a relationship. You know, I don't have a problem. But if you're not interested, then
well, like usually, not just a date. Like even if you're inviting someone to a dinner or whatever, the person inviting, it's kind of like
they have
etiquette to be able to at least offer, because they're the ones choosing the location, so they should, like, you don't know the income bracket of the other person if they can even afford it.
Yeah, so basically you don't want, like, as a guy, so do you want to take me out for an expensive dinner? Like,
no.
I just booked this, a couple of seats at La Rouge, the nice French restaurant, and then maybe a little, a concert or something like that afterwards, and then sit there and look at the other person to show
I was
up
also considering that, like, you invite the person out, but you don't know what their financial situation is, and you choose this expensive place, and maybe the person wants to go on a date and they're just not sure whether or not to say it, and when they say yes, they expect you to pay for it. Because I mean, why go for an expensive place if you don't know the other person's situation? So
exactly. So I think the person inviting and planning it should at least offer
to pay.
And if the other person wants to pay half, then like
so that goes one step back then. So who initiates the date? Whoever initiates the date should be. Oh, we should go for dinner sometime. You know, it translates to, I'm going to buy you dinner.
No, but if you just say we should go for dinner sometime, I'll obviously jump in and be like, okay, we should go to this place. Which kind of gives a lead to, I'm suggesting this because...
Cha-ching, free dinner.
Well, they said, the same article actually said that studies have shown that even though this, like, societal expectation is that a man or a woman could, like in 2018, supposedly a man or a woman can ask out on the date, that in reality it's still mostly men that will ask.
Okay, so we're talking about where? The States, or are we just talking in general? Because my family is Dutch, and there's just, you go Dutch. There's a reason for that. Now, if we're going out on a date. I'm sorry, I asked her first. She asked me out on a date, so I'm gonna reciprocate right now. Okay, if we go on a date, and we're in Holland, if I pay for the date, I'm getting laid. And that's just a societal expectation. So when I asked you, I said, how do you want to deal with the bill? I know whether I'm scoring or not.
Yeah, but isn't that crazy?
But that's the way it's always, that's in Holland. That's the way it is. Are you going Dutch? And that's the expectation. It's like, hey, if I shelled out,
what do I get? You know?
Yeah. Well, it's just it's a kind of like a tapping your toe. Or
well,
whatever,
my personal feeling. So like, if I go on a date with a guy, and that's the other thing is like, I think we always initially assume it's a guy and a girl, but of course now it's like it could be two guys, it could be two girls.
Yeah.
But when I go out on a date, even if a guy asks me, if he were to say something like, "Let's go to this really expensive restaurant," I would have no problem being like, "Hey, let's go to a less expensive restaurant because I'm poor." Like, and I've said that before, like because I always want to pay half, and so if I can't afford it, I would just say, "Let's go to like a cheaper place," and I've never had a problem with them being like.
But
no.
I guess this is like a first date we're talking.
A first date, right? I think if it's further along, I don't mind if the person pays. But on the first date, I feel it's like sets a good expectation about like we're both equal and.
Where does chivalry come into that situation, right? Or that that scenario? Because I mean, for me, I'll just assume that I'm paying, and it's my thing. It's it's not necessarily my role, but it's to show that chivalry is not dead, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, and the chivalry argument is always like a part of it. Like, what do you guys think? And for me, I don't like. I'm not offended if a guy asks to pay, but I always will say, "Oh, let's go. Let's split it."
I think people are like focusing too much on the money of it. It's more about like your connection with the person. Like, money shouldn't be that big of an issue. Like, whoever wants to pay, and if you want to split it, split it.
So you would be okay if a guy wanted to pay, or
if they were really persistent on it, like I would let them, because I think again it's just another ego issue.
Maybe not. But I have another point to bring up. I read on the article, they said that what about making turns on who pays for the date?
like taking turns.
Yeah, like taking
We're
turns.
talking the first date though,
Yeah.
like who's initiating
It's
the contact and who's initiating the relationship, right? Hey, I'm interested in you and I want to spend time with you, and I'm willing to spend a little bit of cash to do it.
Well, it's like on the first date, I think, if you know that you're going to go on a second date with the person, I think it's a little bit easier to say, oh, like, I'll let him, for me anyway, if I know in my mind if the date's going good and I think to myself, okay, I'll go on another date with this guy, I'm probably more likely to let him pay for the date, because then I'll think, okay, next time I can pay for it.
Yeah.
And especially if he wants to pay, I'll just give it to him, right?
Yeah.
But if I am at the date and it's not going very well, then that's definitely, like, I will not let him pay for the date.
So what if you go on a date and the lady is so persistent on paying?
How would you feel about that?
When I was younger, like in my early 20s, I would totally fight that, and I would insist, because I'm the man, that's my role.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I actually realized that that's her asserting her position in the relationship as an equal.
Yeah.
So I don't if a girl says I'm paying for this, I'm paying for that, or I'm paying for the taxi or whatever, I'll try to push a little bit, and then I'll be okay, thank you, and I'll let it slide, and then I'll have my opportunity. I'll say, okay, well, I'll pay for the next thing or something like that. So we've got an agreement, and now we're building a relationship, right? And finances are like one of the number one reasons for relationships to break down. So you need to kind of establish that rapport with each other.
And also one thing, like mostly back in the days, if a lady and a guy were on a date, the waiter or the waitress would normally bring the bill and put it more to the male side.
Always,
but today it's more like I'll just put it in the
middle,
and you guys decide who's gonna go for it. So
it's like the awkward moment where it's
like,
sitting in the middle and you're looking at the other person
and you're like, okay, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Actually, a way of avoiding that problem altogether, and I've played this little trick before, is you just say, hey, sorry, you're on the next date. Hey, I got tickets to a concert. I got an extra one. Do you want to come with me?
That's a nice way to put it.
Then you've got, that's where the finances are sort of broken down. She wants to pay for the cab or dinner beforehand or something like that.
It's like not too much expectations.
I have this thing I want to share with you. Opposed to, hey, I'm gonna pay for everything tonight, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's better, because before it was like we have our roles, like the men's role, the women's role in the date, whereas now it's kind of just open.
It's equal.
How do rules play in when guys
well, it depends. I mean, I certainly know friends of mine who will want the other guy to pay for them.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of guys like that, but then of course I know many guys who want to split the bill. But I think it's a little bit maybe like there's not such a history of like the girl maybe not paying in the past, and then the guy feeling like a little bit of a responsibility to pay or something, because in gay relationships, like it's more of like an equal footing.
It's already equal.
There's still dominant roles.
There's still dominant roles,
right?
and that's where it comes in. It's like if there's like
You're asserting yourself.
the assertive one, and then the not so. So there is that. It's like, especially if there's an age difference, that's another thing that I found. Like the older person is likely
to pay.
Yeah.
Because I've dated guys who were like older than me, and if that was the case, then a lot of times they would want to pay. But I always just has to split, and that's where the whole like not wanting to go to a fancy place comes in. Because a lot of times that would be the thing. It's like they want to take you to a fancy place, and I always feel like if somebody wants to take you to a fancy place and they like insist on that, then they're thinking in their mind, oh, if I take this guy to a fancy place, then I know what's gonna happen later on because blah blah blah. So
They say no, we're going Dutch.
So those kind of expectations, like the expectation that if I pay for something, then I'll get a little bit of action after this, is still definitely alive in the gay community.
So what if we move on to the second date? So now, let's say they agreed on, making turns.
Yeah.
I pay for the date, you pay for the next one.
Sure.
But now what if I have an appetite on the day that he has to pay? So now it's like, it brings you into the situation of, can I order this? Should I order it? And obviously, I'm not going to ask him like, are you fine if I order this?
Right.
So I just feel like if making turns, it's not real, or for me, it just puts you in a really awkward situation when it comes to deciding what you're going to have.
Or what if you go to a really expensive
The
place the next time? Yeah.
But that's your job when you're hosting someone when you go out, though, right? I sit there and I look at the menu and I notice there's a couple of pricier items. Trick I'll play is I'll start looking at those items and I'll go, have whatever you want. Puts the person at ease. I brought you to a restaurant. If I had a budget, I would have taken you to somewhere else, right?
Exactly.
So I want you to relax. Don't worry about that. I've got this.
Sorry, you dates with me now.
Yeah, this is she's closer. I was waiting for a follow-up date, but
it would last.
Well, and that is something that I have done also, is like if I was like in this particular relationship I'm talking about, that I was with somebody that was older than me, like I would pay if we went to like a really cheap place, and he would pay if we went to an expensive place. So I was okay with that, but as long as I felt like I just wanted to contribute something.
Yeah, because
otherwise you feel bad.
Yeah.
But okay, we go on our date, and I'm insisting on paying for absolutely everything, and that becomes sort of. Doesn't it sort of make you feel awkward?
Yeah,
I sit there and
definitely.
Go, like like what are his qualities? What are his values? Like he's trying to dominate me? Is he trying to?
And also is he trying to pay for
that? Show off his money? Like,
that
also
also
pay for something more than just
it's like
what he's paying for.
You're really setting the bars high for me, because then if you're insisting on paying for everything, you're like gonna create this expectation of like, I'm gonna expect you to pay for, because you don't give me like an equal chance, or for me just to contribute to anything. So next time I'll just expect you to pay for everything.
So what's a reasonable, if I pay for dinner, would you as a woman automatically like pay for the cab, or would you automatically say something like, hey, you know what, we just had a nice dinner, let's go for a drink, I'll
buy you a drink or something.
I'll buy you a drink or something. Then I know.
Going Dutch.
Okay,
Oh,
great. That's some good ideas on that. Thank you for your input, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube. Bye-bye.